We're back with the second show of the new year. 2025's America F1 year, baby. And we're back with Scott, and we're going to talk about all the F1 latest news that's going on. And there's just a ton of news. Not as much as you would think, but the news that is happening and that we can report, there's a lot of juiciness. I mean, a lot of juiciness. It's crazy. There's so much stuff to talk about. Here about America F1.
Yeah, America F1. America F1. It's a golden run. America F1.
Scott.
Sherm.
I mean, Alpine I love the colors. I love your shirt. My guy, Jack Doohan, doesn't seem like he's long for this world.
Doohan is done.
Doohan is doing.
He's done. No, I mean, I feel terrible for the guy. I mean, news reports, very clear. Alpine, that is Flavio Briatore, has paid somewhere between $8 million and perhaps $20 million, depending on which news reports you believe, to get what Franco Colapinto's manager has described as a 5-year loan from Williams of Franco's services. Wow. Let me tell you something.
Tell me something, Scotty.
One team pays $8 million, $10 million, $20 million and signs a 5-year contract with a reserve driver to park his rear end on the bench in the back of the garage for 5 years. That boy's getting his butt put in the race seat in 3 races, mark my words, or less.
Hey, it might be even after season testing. They might test those cars in season testing, and they put Franco in the car, and he's all like, 3/4 of a second faster than Jack, and they're like, okay, Jack, hey, thanks for the memories, my man. Which is horrible for him because he's been sitting there for so long waiting for his chance.
Unfortunately, Alpine has a well-deserved reputation in the paddock for making Red Bull look like choir boys in the way they treat their drivers. Alpine's the worst. I mean, by the way, I've stayed in the same hotel as Alpine on more than one occasion, like in Hungary, for example. The Kempinski, they're lovely people. Mm-hmm. This isn't those people. This isn't the mechanics or the track engineers. Those are totally salt of the earth, nice guys and women. This is Flavio Briatore and Renault. And those people are nasty. And they've always been nasty. And it's the cancer that's always consumed Alpine. But let's get real. Flavio Briatore is, only cares about one thing.
Winning. That's it.
And he'll destroy anyone, including his own management client, because Jack Doohan is that, to get there. And if he thinks that Franco is faster, and I actually happen to think Franco is faster, having looked at some of their test results, and Doohan was pretty slow in Abu Dhabi, and you see the lap times of some of the testing.
Well, I heard that in the reported testing, he was a second slower than Pierre, not a 0.2, because they're always looking for how fast is he going to be off for our main guy. If he's 0.2, 0.3 off, okay, he's fast. He's just not faster than the main guy. But a second?
And you've seen some of that in the FP1s. I mean, if you've watched Doohan's FP1s, he's generally been dramatically slower than the full-time driver in the other cockpit. Whereas if you look at Ollie Behrman and Haas, that dude from the get-go was no more than 0.3, 0.2, 0.1 off of the full-time, super experienced drivers in the other cockpit at Haas. And that's when man, they've got a rocket in the cockpit. And Doohan has been slow. I mean, I think, he's a lovely guy. I think that he was the default option because the person they wanted, Carlos Sainz, said, "I don't think so. I'm not going to that dumpster fire."
Right.
I wouldn't have either.
Yeah.
There's no way if I had a choice, I would go to Alpine, even though it probably will produce a faster car than Williams. Because do you really want to get in bed with somebody who's likely to kick you out if you have cancer? I mean,
Wow.
that's the kind of mate that Alpine is to their drivers. They're terrible. And that's why Sainz literally gave up the chance to drive in a faster car near term to go to Williams.
We called it all last season. We call Alpine a dumpster fire. And they've had so many team principals. And the thing about they have no continuity, and that's the key to any successful business is continuity. Any successful franchise has continuity and leadership. And they just it's musical chairs. And I feel bad for Jack Doohan only because I've met him and he seemed like a nice guy. But nice guys finish last, and they don't care about that in Formula One. All they care about is the stopwatch. And
No,
that's it.
I know. I mean, we're looking at Spa behind you.
Yes.
And I was in the Spa paddock the day that word spread that Jack was getting the seat. And, we congratulated him then. I congratulated him then. I congratulated him again in Austin when it was it was announced in person in the paddock there. He's a lovely guy. But unfortunately, he had the bad fortune of being a junior at a team. I don't think since it came back to Formula One has ever promoted one of its juniors, has ever been able to get one of its juniors into a full-time seat.
That's sad. Well, I'm happy for Franco though, because I like Franco Colapinto. And I think if he just can not push the car so much and not crash, he's going to be a good driver because he has a great fan base because we love Argentina and we love Argentinians. He has a great fan base. He's a nice kid. You've met him a couple times actually. And what do you think about Franco and his not only his racing acumen, but just do you think he's going to be a successful F1 driver for years to come?
He's very fast. Franco has very good pace. He has tremendous charisma. He's really likable. Sponsors love him, as we can see. Fans love him. He's a phenom. He's a phenom. He's got the personality of a Senna. He's got a lot of speed. The big wild card is let's see if he crashes too much.
That costs a lot of money down the stretch.
Now,
a lot.
In all fairness, I think the Williams car was a piece of crap.
Okay.
I think it was an undrivable piece of junk because Williams tried something new, and that was to make a car with no downforce into a high downforce car. And they were experimenting this year. And basically, James Vowles said, I'm going to sacrifice this season. The season just happened. And this coming season for 26. So I think it was a very hard to drive car. I mean, Alex Albon was crashing the car all the time.
He was.
So,
yeah.
We won't really know if Franco's a crash monster until he gets in the Alpine, which has not been as big a crash monster of a car. Pierre Gasly was the only driver in F1 history, to my knowledge, to incur $0 of crash damage.
You are correct, sir. Pierre Gasly is the only one in the history of F1 not to cost 1 red cent in repairs to his car. No crashes. That's amazing. I like Pierre Gasly. And I like Pierre Gasly so much that we're going to move on and talk about Ferrari and all the things Ferrari. And we all know that all the Mercedes people, it's coming up pretty soon. And within, I think, 2 days, that Lewis will be shown in red. And then all the Mercedes gear will be gone. And Ferrari gear will be here to stay, baby. Ferrari. And
all the Mercedes gear will be gone. See,
I hear that Angela might be coming back. I saw this photo of her, which we'll put up right here. She was skiing, and in the background was a number 44. And guess what color she was wearing? Red. Angela's back. Come on, Angela's back. What do you think? Angela.
We see in the picture?
Lewis was not in the picture, but
No.
she was in the picture skiing in red with the 44 behind her. And then Lewis was in another picture skiing.
Mm-hmm.
He was in red.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't an accident. I doubt. Look, Lewis is moving another country. Mm-hmm. Bono didn't come with him. Most of his team obviously didn't come with him. There are not huge amounts of Mercedes defectors who are willing to move to Italy, leave their friends and family behind, learn a new language, because, really the Ferrari garage is largely Italian speakers, not English speakers. I can tell you as a 2-time Paddock Club guest of Ferrari last year. The people who do partner relations speak perfect English and the fan relations, but not everyone in the garage is fluent. Seems like English is they're great at English. So he's coming with only really knowing a few people in the garage. He's got Loic Serra, designing the car, Jerome D'Ambrosio. He has obviously Fred Vasseur, who was his team principal when he was coming up through the ranks in the junior formulas, but that's pretty much it. So in my opinion, he was extraordinarily successful with Angela Cullen as his physio. She is regarded as probably the best physio in Formula One, male or female. It would make sense for Lewis to have that continuity back. She's incredibly loyal to him. Her own driver in IndyCar, Marcus Armstrong, sort of got busted back to an inferior team, to a much more junior backmarker team. Got, demoted from one of the top teams. So I doubt there's the budget to have her working for him anyway.
And I think also that the divorce, because I heard she had gotten divorced, and I think that opens up her going back to Lewis, because I'm not going to say that was the cause of the divorce, but I know the Formula One season of how long it is and the travel, that probably weighed on the relationship, because it's a long time. It's 6 months of travel.
I mean, we did my experiences. So we did 6 races last year out of the 24, and that was a lot of travel. I can't imagine doing 24.
Yeah, I mean, would you do 24 in a year? Would you?
If I was retired.
Like if you retire, would you try to do 24 in a year?
Sure, but if you have kids like she did, a marriage, a husband, I guess it's pretty hard. I mean, you're really. I mean, the season starts really for those people in March and it ends in December. And there's a month long in the summer, but you're away most of that time. You're away most of the time. So it's like being in the Navy.
Yeah, it truly is. And I also heard that Ferrari's going from push rods to pull rods. Now, talk about the differences between that in a car, in a race car, Scott.
Sure. Well, they're doing it in the front suspension only. And essentially, the suspension configuration is different in the way that the suspension parts are. If you look at it, you'll see a big difference in the way the rods connect with the car. One of them, the rod, it goes down, and the other, the rod goes up. And pretty much everybody has already made the change that Ferrari is making. Although Ferrari's only making it in the front. They're not doing it in the back. They're just doing it in the front. So, and I can't tell you why. I'm not a suspension engineer, but most people are doing, but Ferrari's still being a little unique that they're not doing the whole car. But most people have found aerodynamically it's a better package, apparently. Besides handling, it's just a sounder aerodynamic package. Ferrari's doing it. Ferrari is making their car, whether it's going to be the SF25, they are designing this car around Lewis Hamilton's preferences.
Yeah, I heard it's 98% different than last year's car.
99, yeah.
That's crazy.
The cockpit is further back.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this is something that Charles will like a lot too. This car is going to be the way Lewis and coincidentally Charles like it and the way Carlos hates it. A oversteer heavy, pointy car. Just like the way Max likes it, by the way. The top drivers, most of them like their car this way. It's often said in racing, loose is fast. That is when you have a loose rear end
Right.
It's fast. And so you're going to see a very pointy, oversteery car with the cockpit further back. Is it going to work? I sure hope so, because Ferrari had a car that was knocking on the door of the championship. They were only 14 points behind.
Yeah, they also changed the brakes. They went from Brembo full brakes, the disc Brembo. Now they're going to a different manufacturer that Lewis likes for just the disc, but they'll keep the Brembo assembly, I guess. But the actual brake surface will be a different company.
Yeah. And he likes the brake feel, and the surface is what gives you the feel. The housing doesn't give you the feel. There's the things that contact are what give you the feel.
And I think they're ceramic brakes, but I think the funny thing is they're carbon,
Carbon.
but the name of the company I think is ceramic or something like that.
Yeah.
The name of the company that they're going to. But I just know it's not Brembo, and I was like, wow. And this came out before the pull rod thing, and I was like, whoa, they're trying to make it as comfortable as possible for Lewis.
They've invested so much money in Lewis, $100 million a year, something like $400 million to his foundation. I mean, Charles is getting paid a pittance compared to Lewis, and they're investing a huge amount in Lewis. They want to make it work.
But one, they've already got that money back in their stock price. But wait until you see official pictures with Lewis in red that day. If you didn't buy stock the day before, you probably should buy it that day, because definitely that stock's going to go up. The Ferrari stock's going up that day. And once they release the Lewis merch with the 44 in red, man, they'll make all that money that day, because they'll be sold out. So once you go to the race, Scott, the first place you got to go is right to the merchandise for Ferrari, because if you go on race day, there won't be anything left. You got to go on practice day.
I never buy race. I never buy race merchandise, Team F1 merchandise at a race. I always buy online, because they mark it up like 2 times retail, 3 times retail. I always buy at the F1 website, or at Fuel for Fans, or at CMC Motorsports.
Yeah.
I never ever, or from team websites. I never buy at the racetrack ever, because of that reason.
Moving on from Ferrari, which we are both Tifosi members this year, and I'm waiting for my gear package to come once they get all the things packed up and the pictures ready to go. I can't wait to see the difference between last year's and this year's, because I am a Ferrari Club member, Tifosi carrying member, and I'll be using that to get some perks, and I'll go to the museum this year, because I didn't go to the museum last year when I went to Monza, or the year before I went to Monza. I didn't go, but this year I'm going. But let's talk about Aston Martin and what's going on at Aston Martin. And Mike Crack, I think his name is Crack. Is it Crack?
It's Mike Crack.
He's out, and Andy Cow is in. What happened at Aston Martin to make this happen, Scott?
Poor performance means you're out. I mean, look, the car development and the performance at Aston Martin in the last season and a half, since really Fernando's 7 of 8 podiums in the first half of 2023, has been disgraceful. I mean, you're talking to somebody here. I know a lot of people on the team. I've attended their paddock club 3 times. They are amazing, and they have some of the best facilities in all of F1. Now, Lawrence Stroll and the ownership group has invested hundreds of millions of dollars to give that team the best factory probably in F1 now, the best facilities, the best tools. Now, a new wind tunnel. But Mike Crack and and the design team, Dan Fallows, were just not getting it done. I mean, the car was going backward to the point where they were, lucky to keep 5th. Frankly, if Alpine had the car at the beginning of the year that they had at the end of the year, Alpine would have been 5th. No question about it. Because Fernando was scraping around for P9 or P10, while Pierre was fighting in the middle of that, was fighting for P4, P5, P6, P7. And, the buck has to stop somewhere. And if you're the team principal or you're the technical director and you're putting out a crap car that Fernando, one of the greatest drivers in the history of F1, is struggling to even be in the points, there's going to be consequence of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was. By the way, Mike Crack, nicest guy in the world. I love Mike, a lovely guy, but there are going to be consequences for that. F1 is about performance, and look, there's only one person who doesn't have consequences in Aston Martin if he doesn't perform well. But other than that,
what's his name, Scott? I don't know. What's that guy's name?
Built around
something with a Stroll, Lance Stroll. That's it. Crash Stroll. I mean, did I say that? I didn't mean that. Don't hate me, Lance. Kind of did.
No, but other than the owner's son, everyone else, if they don't perform up to their best, especially after a season and a half of really utterly failing. I mean, let me be clear. The garage is amazing. Mm-hmm. Like the garage crews are terrific. They do a great job. Pit stops are good. The cars are assembled well. They're very dedicated. Mikey Brown and those people who do Fernando's garage are particularly great. Matt Watson, those guys are amazing. But the cars they're being given, the tools they're being given from the design people are just not working. So look,
hopefully we look for. You think they'll bounce back this year, 25, or more likely 26?
I think 25 is going to be a bad year. I think Newey, as he's said, he doesn't have any tools to work with, which is not surprising. He's on gardening leave. Sorry, Adrian, you're not surprising that Red Bull's not letting me work. But Newey will come online in March. I highly doubt they're going to waste his time with the 25 regulations. The car's largely done. If they're smart, they will really laser focus him on 26, where the new engine is going to come out. There's just so much more opportunity costs in the new regulations, which will go on for years. I think they're going to focus him on 26. But I think you're going to start to see a significant leap up the grid in 26 or 27 as his changes are felt.
What do you think that Ben Sulaymen has a psychological disorder that's called narcissism?
I don't think. I sort of know that. I mean, it's sort of obvious. I mean, the guy is like, as I used to say in 90s Gangster Rap, up in the video. He's up in the video. I mean, anytime there's a driver up on the podium or getting media attention, he's got to run up and, be a part of that. Anyone challenges him, they're out. Audit committees are gone. Everyone's now reporting to him. There's no independent board of anything anymore. The whole F1 under him is just a banana republic. It's really become a Saudi Arabian dictator. It's just a dictatorship now. And he's going to get reelected probably because he's been using slush funds to, give money to foreign auto associations that were, used to be his expense account. He's given up his expense account because I guess he doesn't need it because he's rich. So now his expense account is being given to foreign government, foreign auto associations.
What I don't like about Ben Sulaymen and his just recently, if you don't know out there in F1 land, he's basically said the British press, he's at war with the British press, and he's saying how unfair they are and how the British Grand Prix shouldn't be called actually the British Grand Prix. It should be called the Qatar Air British Grand Prix because they're the ones that's sponsoring them. And what he's basically saying is without the Saudi money, where would F1 be? And I think F1 would be fine without the Saudi money because, well, the races there aren't the greatest, except for the last race. Abu Dhabi is really good. But the other races, do we need those races? Do we really need those other races in Saudi Arabia? Probably not. Yes, Saudi Arabia has a lot of money, but they're using sports. And this is just 1 second of a political commentary. And if you don't like political commentary in sports, please turn away. Go to the bathroom right now. But they're kind of using sports to kind of clean up their reputation where it comes to social issues. And so that's what they're doing. They're dumping money into tennis. They're dumping money into racing. They're dumping money into soccer. And they're doing this to kind of clean up their image. So that's fine. Do that. But what I don't like is this totalitarian type of leadership where it's his way or the highway. Remember, you're not the star, Ben. You're not the star. No one's coming to watch F1 to see you go up on the podium and celebrate. No one's coming to F1 so a couple drivers don't curse, or because Lewis Hamilton doesn't have a nose earring. No one's coming to F1 because of that, or because you want certain pants on the drivers, or they can't, go out without a different type of shirt that you approve of. No one cares about that. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. We're there to see the drivers race in the greatest sport in the world. And that's what we want to see. We don't care about what you think. We don't care about what you do. We don't care about what suit you're wearing. We don't care about who your best friends are. Okay. So stay out of the way and let these guys drive. Okay. Now back to our regular schedule program.
I miss the days of John Todd when, president of the FIA is highly respected, trusted, and not in the news every day. I think the presidency of MBS is a tragedy. I think it's a stain. It's a cancer on the sport. I think he's a cancer on the sport. I don't care where he comes from. We've had horrible FIA presidents from France, as we pointed out before. It doesn't matter the country. It matters the person. If we had a Saudi Arabian president who was good, I'm all for that. I don't care where the president's from, but they need to be a leader with some accountability and some principles. And we have a cult of personality here who is just not, I don't think, doing a very good job. I mean, you see driver safety issues ignored. You see, I think, the worst crash response of any major sport. No, I mean, in IndyCar, we have a crash response team, multiple trucks that goes to every race. And here we have one medical car that maybe comes out sometimes. It doesn't take custody of the driver after every crash, knowing that when you crash that fast, your brain is going to be fried, your adrenaline's going to be going. There's so many problems and things that they just don't do. We don't have permanent stewards. Are you kidding me? The richest motorsport in the world doesn't have permanent stewards / referees, and they have these unpaid amateur hour of these buffoon stewards who constantly, who judge drivers, and they go on the air the next day and they criticize them and express opinions about them, of the very people they're judging. This is no way to run a sport, but it's the way that MBS runs a sport, because this is what happens when you have corruption and nepotism running a sport instead of a sport being run on merit. So for me, go back to the days of John Todd and we'd be all good. I'd love another leader like that. That leader can come from Saudi Arabia, can come from Qatar, can come from the Middle East, can come from the Far East. I don't care. I just want a real FIA president back in there. But that won't happen until the F1 team say, unless you get this bozo out, if you don't get him out, we're going to form our own league and we're going to leave you.
That would be awesome. And I am applying for the FIA presidency right now. If you put me in charge, I'll make sure that everything goes right, because you know why? I'll be in the background making sure that people are taken care of. You won't see me on camera. You won't see me up on the podium. You won't see me trying to take pictures with everybody. You won't see Max like sitting right next to me at dinners and awards. You won't even know who I am. Okay? And that's how it should be. All right? Now, moving on to all of the new drivers that we have Kimi Antonelli, we have Isak Hadjar, we have Jack Doohan, we have Oliver Berman, who's not really new. I mean, Oliver, he's been around a little bit. We have Gabriel Bortoleto. I love these names. I love them, and they roll right off my tongue. And we have Liam Lawson. Now, out of all these names, we both kind of agree that Jack Doohan's probably the first one to get the axe.
Hit the road, Jack.
Who's going to be the second one out of all those drivers?
Isak Hadjar.
Why would you say that?
They're grooming Lindblad for that seat, number one. I think Lindblad is going to get that seat quickly. I think also Hadjar has some of the same concerns that they had with Yuki, and that's his team radio makes Yuki's team radio look like a monster.
No way. You got to be kidding. He's worse than Yuki?
Isak Hadjar's team radio makes Yuki's look as peaceful as a monastery.
Oh, I got to go back and listen. I
commend you to listen to, I believe, the Monaco F2 sprint race.
Oh, I'm queuing it up tonight.
It's either the sprint or the feature race.
Okay.
He got beat by a driver who was running an alternate strategy. He was in last place, and he was waiting for a 1 in a million chance of a virtual safety car so he could change his tires. He hadn't changed his tires the entire race. And the only way you could change your tires is if you were in the pits and then the virtual safety car hit, because you couldn't change them once if otherwise.
Yeah.
It happened. Wait till you hear his team radio. He lost the race as a result. And this guy came from last place to first. Wait till you hear. Just in any event, I don't think Red Bull wants that anymore. I think it's why they kept Yuki behind. One of the big reasons. In any event, also his FP1s at least have been slow and chaotic and very bad, not very good. He almost crashed. He almost had a crash with Lando. I could be wrong, and I hope he does well. But I think he's keeping that warm seat for Arvid Lindblad. I think that's what they.
I think it's very hypocritical of Red Bull to talk about how people behave in the cockpit when they have Max Verstappen in the cockpit.
Let me tell you something. In my experience in corporate America, in my 30-something years in corporate America, those in corporate America who generate enormous amounts of money have different rules applied to them than everyone else. Max Verstappen is one of the greatest drivers who's ever driven in Formula One. He just is. Like him or not like him. And, he doesn't try to be well-liked. He doesn't care if you like him or not. But that guy is a winner. That guy wins races. That guy gets performance out of the car that other people don't. And as a result, his rather unfortunate and at times horrific team radio, like the way he berated his team in Hungary, is excused. And most drivers can't get away with that because they don't have his talent. They don't have a fraction of his talent. And yes, they will let him rage when he's mad, but they will not let Yuki, and they won't let Isaac, and they won't let any driver rage like that who doesn't have it. And
talk a little bit about Gabriel Bortoleto and where's his ceiling going to be? Because that Sawa car is a dog. It's going to be a dog next year. And how do you judge a new driver, Scott, when you have such a bad car? What's his metric? Like, long as he's close to the lead driver, I mean, how would you judge him?
Look, that car is not only going to be a dog in 25, but Mattia Binotto is already saying it's going to be a dog in 26. They're not seeing great things on the test bench as far as the engine goes for 26 when it's Audi. The only way you can judge somebody like him is against his teammate. We know Nico Hülkenberg is a good driver.
Mm-hmm.
He's a solid midfield driver, solid upper midfield driver, among the best in the midfield. Never really had an opportunity for a top car. If he's within a 10th, if he's out qualifying him half the time.
Which I don't think is going to happen because Nico's such a good qualifier. I mean, basically, you're saying he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be that close to Nico.
Ollie Behrman qualified him several times.
Yeah, but Ollie's a way better driver, I think, than Gabriel Bortoleto. I think he's a better driver. I think, in my opinion, out of all these new guys, I put Ollie right up there with Kimi as far as speed and race pace.
He's very fast.
Yeah.
Bortoleto was extraordinarily consistent, very determined, and really, I mean, the guy won F1, F2, and F3 as a rookie. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't underestimate his talent. I think he's going to give Hülkenberg some problems. But
it kind of sucks when you're giving people problems and you're 18th and 19th. We're 45 seconds off the pace.
Look at how they murdered my boy. It's like you said in Godfather. Look at how they murdered my boy. I mean, this is Valtteri Bottas. 10 wins, more than any other driver on the grid except 3 of them. Okay, 10 wins. Okay, what are it, like over 60 podiums?
Yes.
Over 100 consecutive Q3 appearances in 5 seasons with Mercedes. He never once missed Q3, something that not even Lewis did. And they booted him out of F1, even though he constantly destroyed his teammate because the Sauber car sucks that bad. And they booted him out anyway.
Now, would you say that is Toto his manager?
He was. I don't know if he still is.
But wouldn't you blame that on the management because there's all these seats earlier in the season. I mean, this was like the season of change. There was all these seats available, and Valtteri didn't
I don't know what happened.
get one of those. And because you're not going to tell me that Liam Lawson's better than Valtteri, Gabriel Bortoleto's better, Jack Doohan's not, Isak Hadjar. Kimi Antonelli's he's going to be supposedly be like another talent, so we're not going to include him. You got to give him a seat somewhere. And Oliver Berman's proven that he's a talent, so you're going to put him somewhere. But these other names, obviously, that my guy is better. The hairnet, the hair bun, the mullet. He's better. And he should probably went to Haas, don't you think? He should have got that seat over Ocon. Ocon's fast, but I think he should have got that seat.
He was in contention for it. They were talking about it, but he didn't get it. I can't tell you why. The problem is that he was not allowed to show how good he was because the Sauber car was so bad and got so bad, especially after Fred Vasseur left. When Fred Vasseur left, the team imploded.
Do you think that he's going back to Mercedes because, one, George Russell apparently doesn't give that great of feedback, and two, Kimi Antonelli being a rookie probably won't be able to give the feedback, but Valtteri will be able to?
I think he's going back there because Toto and the team love him and want to give him a parking place so that he can hopefully get a seat, in 2026 at Andretti. When I was a Paddock Club guest of the Mercedes Petronas, AMG Petronas F1 team in Las Vegas in 2024, whose picture was hanging in the Mercedes team garage? Who's Valtteri's picture from the calendar?
Got to be Valtteri's.
Valtteri Bottas or Bottas. They love him, and now I can say it because it's no longer news. They were telling me he was coming back as reserve driver. They said it's the worst kept secret in the paddock. Don't say anything, so I didn't, but I knew. They love him. That they were so excited to get him back. Nobody wanted to see him go. No comment on George, but it's like Carlos. And no one at Ferrari was happy to see him go either. These guys are hard workers. They're popular. Everyone knows how much they care, and they try. And they're nice to people on the team. So I think it's a parking spot. I also think there is no way you're going to get any George Russell mentoring or giving Kimi Antonelli feedback. George Russell's seat is in mortal danger.
You think so?
Oh, hell yeah. If Kimi beats him, he's in trouble. Because
if Kimi beats him, here's my prediction here. Kimi beats him, which may start happening near the end of the season. So say he does. Then Valtteri gets the seat. George Russell goes to Red Bull.
Anything's possible. I mean, George Russell's a good driver, but Toto's would love to have Toto would dream of having a Max Kimi team. That's his dream. He'll get rid of George in 3 seconds.
He'll get rid of George, and George has to know that. George has to know. He has to.
Look, I've met George. I've been around. I've seen George on a number of occasions live. I've had repartee with George before. George Russell is a very smart man. George, one of the smartest drivers in the paddock. He's not the fan favorite, but he is a really smart guy, and he has to know that he's no dummy. He knows what's up. So he's not going to help Kimi, and I wouldn't help him either if I were George. So that's what Valtteri's there for. Valtteri is a mentor. Joe would say all the time, Joe knew how much Valtteri tried to help him, and you better believe part of the reason he's there, his job description is to train and mentor Kimi, and he'll do that. He's a good guy. He'll do that.
Well, we want to thank everyone for tuning in to the second show of the new year. The 2025 season is another 60 days away.
Something like that.
So join us next week here at America F1, where we will discuss whatever the latest news of Formula One is. You know what we'll do? And a show that would be great. We'll talk about the Paddock Club. And this is something that has come up I guess, in the forums about how to get to the Paddock Club, what to expect, and is it better and is it worth it? So, since both Scott and I have been into the Paddock Club, and obviously he's a professional Paddock Club member, and I'm just like an amateur. I've only been a couple times, but we will share the ins and outs, and we'll share some footage of the Paddock Club and talk everything Paddock Club here at America F1.
Yeah, America F1. America F1. It's a golden run. America F1.